Hello. We are, for this week, readings are chapter on purpose and audience. So I kind of just wanted to go over just some points that really stuck out to me in regards to purpose and audience. So chapter 14, purpose. I really like how you're kind of thinking about the external versus internal purpose, right? Um, Thinking about what passions do you have about the topic, about the prompt, what nugget can you pull from a dull topic, what research can you conduct to discover something interesting. And what I really like about it, the whole chapter is focusing on, it doesn't matter what the topic is. It doesn't matter if it's interesting to you or if you find it like completely irrelevant in your life. Dive deeper. Use your brainstorming sessions, the generating and judging we're talking about. Like really, expand your horizons and think about like, how can you make this interesting? It can be like a challenge for you, and find what piece, what nugget that really resonates with you, and feel like, ooh, I can really develop this idea. I've in class, usually we do car salesman. I'll just put it up there, circle it, and I'm like, okay, you know, talk to me about what a car salesman's like, and people will say like, annoying or uh, like difficult or in your face, and also like wheeling and dealing. And, if you are a car salesman, like, no, we're not saying anything bad about you. It's just like, what are things that come to your mind? And you think about like negotiating tactics. And those are kind of like, it's kind of funny because you start to build your audience before you even realize that you are, you're kind of coming up like, what does a car salesman like represent? And then think about like, what do you want to know about a car salesman or car sales in general? And so that's kind of when the questions really start to arise, and you can find moments to dive deeper and think about, what are the managerial pieces, what are ways that you can manage car sales, how can you be a good leader, what are leadership qualities that you need to have in sales that maybe you don't need in other areas, right? And so again, you're now finding different ways. So, each student comes up with their own question. You're finding ways where you can find interest within something that maybe you have no connection with whatsoever, or you find, irrelevant. We try to make our writing prompts as relevant as possible to your current job or the department that you're pursuing, in the career path that you're pursuing, because I think it's really helpful. I really enjoy when I hear students say, oh, I'm evaluating emails and I can see how my boss writes, and I can see like I'm working towards that also. And, I can use these writing skills and, presentations and my essays and emails and just the ways that I communicate with people as more direct and clear and concise. So, we try to make things as useful as possible, but the whole idea behind the chapter on purpose is that, look for something beyond the obvious. Look to something that interests you, because, you've all mentioned it on discussion forums that it's easier to write with passion. It's easier to research things that you're interested in because it allows you to dive deeper. So look for those areas within the prompt that, push you in that direction. So, generating lists of questions, right? We do that in class. And so that's something that you can do at home, is when given a topic and you kind of have an idea of something that you might think about writing, generate a list of questions that can reveal your interests, your passions. Pre-writing, right? That's brainstorming session. It does not have to actually be writing. I have, students that like to brainstorm by chatting with someone. Sometimes it's just me. I get phone calls and they're like, I need to talk this through. Let's talk it through. Talk it through with a friend. Talk it through with your phone. you know, go on a walk, talk it through that way. It doesn't just have to be, you know, free writing. It could be like blind journaling on a computer. So experiment and see, because maybe something that you've never tried before actually generates far more interesting questions about your prompt than you realize. So try it out. Try something new this week. That might be good for you. And then when you kind of have that purpose, or you figured that out, like, so what? There's that so what question. And it's not to be like rude or like, so what? You know, it's more like, so what about it? Like, why does your purpose matter? That's kind of like creating that thesis statement that we're looking for. It's not, we have these topic sentences. People, you guys are great at that, at creating a topic sentence or like a thesis, like a statement, right? You're good at creating a statement. But moving it beyond the statement into a thesis includes the so what, the why piece, right? So for like writing assignment 2, you know, this change you seek, use exercises, you know, 14.2 and 14.3 to help you with this writing assignment. You know, as you've done your rough draft, like go back, look at it and say, okay, I'm going to use this assignment to kind of evaluate my purpose. Do I have a so what in there? Do I have a why, a meaning to my statement, right? If I want a cleaner workspace, am I giving a why to it? Why do I need a cleaner, you know, like the lunchroom, you know, what is that called? Like workroom, right? And like an office. I have students that write about, you know, people cleaning out the fridge. That is like a huge topic. Like people want Fridays, you know, or once a week cleaning out the fridge. Okay, that's a statement. Why is it important? That moves it, elevates it into a thesis statement. So giving the so what to your purpose. Why does it matter? Why does it matter to your audience? You know, it's important to also think about why it matters to you, but also why should it matter to your audience? Like bridge those pieces together. What can they get out of it? What can come from it? You know, why can, you know, using positive language in a negotiation be useful? Like you can say, oh, it's useful. Great. Why is it useful? What can it bring to the table? What can it give to your audience? What can it bring to you, to your office? Elaborate. And when you do that, you'll be able to help, it'll help clarify those topic sentences that you need to further explain your idea, right, with your examples. So that's kind of chapter 14 on purpose. Chapter 15 talks about audience, which is so important. Audience is key because you're not writing just to write. You're not just writing a story because it's a nice story. You're not just asking people to change just because. You have a purpose behind it and you have an audience, a target in mind, right? So for like example, writing assignment 2, if you're wanting people to clean out the fridge, who are you talking to, right? Who's going to make that happen? Is it your coworkers? Is it your boss? And if so, it can't be both, because one of them is the game changer. One of those groups actually can make it happen. So who is it, right? So, elaborate on that. And it helps me understand who you're trying to reach to. And the better you can clarify, like narrow that focus, better I can help you assess, like, how is your language relating to them? Are you, is your audience driven by research? Well, where's your research? Is your audience driven by, the bottom line? Well, do you have that? Do you talk about how your idea addresses giving them a better bottom line, right? So defining, narrowing, it can help you tailor your writing, which is really important because people like to write like, oh, this could be for anyone. Well, so your writing sounds like it could be for anyone, but it actually doesn't say anything. It just has like an idea, but not real evidence and clarity where, when you narrow your audience, you can offer that to them because you can speak to them. When you're speaking to your kids, to tell them that they need to, do their chores or unload the laundry or dishes, the way you speak to them is different than you speak to your coworker saying, I need your help cleaning out the fridge once a week, right? You still need them to both do something for you or with you, but they're two different audiences that need to be spoken to, two different ways that need different examples to kind of illustrate your your understanding of this goal that you want to, you know, achieve. So it's really important. Think about how much does your audience know about the topic. You know, I have students that like to write definitions and background information. Like, that's all great. Does your audience need it? Do they need this, you know, do they need this information? Yes, no, right? Because again, it's not about me, it's about your audience. If they already know it, then just tell me in your audience analysis that they already know it, and then you can just be, I mean, in your essay, you're speaking to them. So you don't have to go over the ins and outs of certain jargon. Don't need to. What moves your audience, right? What connects with them? Are they, you know, if you're talking about doing, you know, incorporating like monthly, you know, community events, right, in your office with your workplace to build camaraderie, what kind of events do they like? Like, bring those suggestions to the table, right? What motivates them? Not you, but what motivates them? What interests your audience? And use that to your advantage to talk to them with those examples, right? So if your audience really likes Broadway, well then say like, hey, wouldn't it be great to go see Wicked together as a group? Like, think about all the connection that we'll have, the shared experience that we can chat about, you know, during our lunch breaks, or, you know, at each one another, like desks or after meetings. And you have that shared experience to build that camaraderie because we got to see this really cool musical, right? It's not about you, it's about them. So yeah, and create that image in your head. Like, you know, when you think about, I do this in class, like the football fanatic, right? I say, what comes to mind when you think of a football fanatic? And people are like, oh, tattoos and, you know, face paint and like this really big, tall, like bearded guy, right? Like, the image is there. Write it down. Like, write down who you envision what this person looks like. It doesn't mean all of them look like that. It just means like you've kind of got some of that knowledge already placed in there. Write it down. And that also helps me because I can kind of say, like, ask questions off of that, and it better tailors your audience, and you know, then your writing's tailored to your audience. So yeah, create that image, write it down, which you already do it. You do it and you don't even know it. So write it down. How do you think your audience will think differently? Like, with the information that you're giving them, how do you think that's going to change them? What do you think they're going to, you know, what do you want for them moving forward? Think about that. And then this is kind of like the revision piece, but like, how are you speaking to your audience in every paragraph, right? Through the voice of your writing, through the example, right? Is this example resonating with them, or is it resonating with you? And I know as writers, we get really hung up on word choice, on certain sentences that we really love how they flow together or they sound. Poems, you know, evidence. I really like this evidence, but it's not about you. It's about your audience. Are you choosing the best pieces in each paragraph that directly speak to your audience, that connects with them? So it's very important. And then I said, you know, exercise 15.2 is great to help with the next writing assignment. So again, as you've already done your rough draft, and I'm reading through them, like, think about purpose and audience as you are writing, revising your final draft for writing to, and just think, how can you kind of tweak those pieces? Are you looking through each paragraph? So drafting, so this is something I feel like I am finding myself repeating a lot in looking at writing, and we do in this course, is really like evaluating each sentence. And this is part of the revision piece. Like, once you've done your draft, or once you feel like you've put something together, you know, you've given yourself permission to write badly, and you kind of generate and judge, and you've got your first draft, you know, then you go, you know, take a break, come back, revise. So drafting, thinking about like, okay, what is this essay about? Do I have a clear sense of why I'm writing this? Do I have a point? And do I give a reason why? Like, do I offer a so what? So what about this for my audience, right? And then just, kind of going off like a checklist and really looking for these pieces. Like, do I have an audience? Did I do it? Sometimes you forget, and then it shifts your writing. Do I have a way to engage my reader, which is my audience? Do I have a way to hook them? Like, who are they? What do they like? What interests them? How am I pulling them in to my writing? Do I have a thesis? Can I find it on the paper? Not like, oh yeah, this is my point, but can you find it in your writing? Where is it? Is it in the first paragraph? Is it in the middle? Where is it? And is that going to be useful to your audience? Can you find it? Can you underline it? Can you, circle it? Is there a why to your thesis, right? Are you answering the so what question? Each paragraph, do I have a topic sentence, right? And does my topic sentence explain my thesis? Is there one piece of evidence per paragraph, right? Am I just focusing on one explanation, one hypothetical piece of, outside sourcing that explains my topic sentence? Is it relevant? Do they match, right? Is the evidence I chose connect to my topic sentence? And then, am I explaining it? Am I unpacking it for my reader? Because it makes sense in my head, but how am I explaining it to my audience? And how does that relate back to my thesis? Making sure those gaps are all filled. Do I have a thoughtful conclusion? Am I giving them, we talked about the chapter on conclusions, like, am I giving them the next steps? Am I giving them something to think about? And then last piece, which is, have I read it out aloud, or have I taken it to the writing center? Like, a lot of times when you read your writing out loud, you are able to catch a lot of simple writing mistakes, either, misspellings, punctuation, apostrophes. That's like, the possessive. That's a really easy one to miss. But when you read it aloud, you are able to catch a lot of that. And then utilizing the writing center, you have that. And notice how I save grammar for the very last piece. Because again, you can ask somebody to help you with your grammar and, your in-text citation, but you can't ask somebody, how are you going to hook your audience necessarily if you don't have one, right? You can't ask somebody, what do you think of my thesis if you don't have one? Like, you have to create these things so that you can go through this checklist. And this is partly, how I grade your papers. Like, and you look at, what gives you an A or a B, like on each piece of your writing. That's what I do. I read the whole thing, and your whole essay. I read your audience, and then I go back and I start looking through. Where's their thesis? Here's their topic sentence. Where's that? Hold on. Where's your where's your evidence? Is it one piece, or are you just listing a bunch of different things? Does your evidence have specifics? Details. Are you giving like an actual scenario or hypothetical with clarity? Not just telling someone, hey, it's really important that we, clean out the fridge on Fridays, and I think it's awesome for everyone. Like, okay, but like, why? Give me a scenario. Like, explain, like, give me a visual of what it's like to walk in there and see the mess everywhere, or like a moment where you've actually tried to clean it out and, you took somebody else's lunch container and it turned out to be Gloria's, right? And so, like, using those details, like the names, dates, specifics about like an actual situation, like, unpack that for your reader, because that makes it super clear, right? If you're telling like little mini stories or mini hypotheticals to kind of help people create those images in their head. So let's see here. Got my slides. Is that it? Yep. So those are kind of my pieces of information on purpose and audience and revising as you work on revising your final writing assignment 2. And just keep in mind those specifics. It's really key, like, having one piece of evidence in each body paragraph not listing, because listing, you leave too many gaps, right? If you just say like, it's important to clean out the fridge because, on Fridays, because it keeps, things organized, avoid having, confusion on, containers, and keeps things fresh. Like, everybody has different ideas in their mind of what those things are. And so being able to explain and unpack it for your readers so that you give them a specific example of your understanding. And so then whatever their understanding is that they have, they can kind of adjust it to understand your situation. And then they get where you're coming from rather than taking their own knowledge and putting it in the gap because you didn't offer that information. You didn't offer those, specifics. So instead of them doing that, it's your job is to fill in the specifics and give them the scenarios and really elaborate on your perspective, because then it's clear. There's no confusion. So there you go. Hope you have a great week. Call, reach out, email, let me know how I can support you as you are writing your final draft. I just pray that each day you have a little bit of time, even if it's like 10, 15 minutes, just to step away, look at your writing, do the reading chapters. I mean, they're super short, but finding those moments where you feel like you can be your best self in the writing realm is what I pray for you this week. All right, see you later.